Hey guys, what's going on? This is Sam Mercer with Junxion Med Staffing, the travel-owned agency. As a lot of you guys know, we created a new page, Traveling Surgical Tech Tips, to help bring some better information out there. As you guys know, some of the hottest topics lately, at least over the last few years since I've been traveling, have been what's an acceptable tax rate, how much experience do I need, where should I stay, and weekly income versus expenses. That one's huge. Kind of where I'm getting some of this information from, just so you guys know, is my personal experience as a traveler. I was a traveling surgical tech for almost 2 years, and owning a healthcare staffing company for 2 years, and just wanting to take that information, combine it, and give it to you guys so that you understand where some of our limitations are, and when we're talking to you guys, our perspective, so that you can see it as well, and we can all work together. What is an acceptable tax rate? Nobody really knows, or at least I haven't been told that there is like this finite number. I haven't seen that. I spoke to our lawyers fairly in depth about it, and they recommended $14 an hour taxable. Some red flags would be being below the local or state minimum tax, and the national minimum wage. Obviously, we're not minimum wage workers, so I would be on the lookout for that too. We set our taxable at $14 an hour, and we feel like that protects you guys and us too. Another thing with what's an acceptable tax rate is I've seen a lot of travelers recently want a higher taxable and lower stipends. One of the problems with that is it's considered wage recharacterization unless we max out your stipends. So that's huge. So for instance, we can't pay you, we can't just raise your taxable $2 an hour and then deduct it out of your meals and incidentals. We're definitely gonna get in trouble for that. How much experience do I need as a traveler? That's another big one. Not a lot of companies. Some companies will let you travel with 1 year of experience. We don't recommend it. When I started traveling, I traveled with 1 year and 9 months, 1 year and 10 months. I had trauma 1 experience. I had ortho, trauma, GYN, general, basically your general services, and still got canceled on my first contract. Doesn't mean that happens to everybody. I know there's gonna be some people that go, well, I started at 1 year and I've never been canceled. That's freaking awesome. It didn't happen to me though. But we highly recommend 2 years. You get to be a little more well-rounded. And also one thing that I did, and I highly recommend to everyone else too, when I started, I was at a level 1 trauma. And for my first contract, I went to a level 2. The pace was a little bit slower. The cases were a little easier. And like the flow, just letting me get my travel feet wet was super huge. Getting canceled, let's talk about that real quick and then we'll go back into this. Part of it was my fault. Part of it was the agency kind of oversold me a little bit. And I really wish one thing that I had done was communicate with my recruiter a lot better. I could kind of see it happening a few weeks before, and it just kept snowballing and snowballing and snowballing, and then I was told I was canceled. Definitely reach out to us, guys. If you're not communicating with your recruiter when you're having issues, we can't help you, because once we get that notice, there's not much we can do. So that's really big. It gives us a chance to bat for you guys. Another example, if you're at a level 2 facility and that's where your experience is, step down to a level 3 or even like a critical access, or just a non-trauma designation facility. It will help you a ton. Let's see. Highly recommend being as well-rounded as possible. As travelers, we they kind of expect us to be the jack of all trades. Sometimes we are, sometimes we're not. I'm not. You know, highly recommend some ortho, not necessarily totals, but it definitely will help. Being able to cover all of your general services is really big. Neuro, you can always do neuro and spine. But those are the ones that I really recommend. You know, where should I stay while I'm on contract? I always stayed, or I always used Craigslist to book where I was going to stay. I only had one issue with Craigslist, and I booked this, and this is kind of high. I booked my rooms and stuff like that on Craigslist. Is I got online and I found like 5 or 6 places I wanted to stay. I never sent them money, and I told them, hey, when I come into town, we're gonna meet before I go to the house. That way I know it's kind of safe. And then I would go to the house, check it out, make sure it was good, and I was like, okay, I want to stay here, so here's my deposit. And then I would stay there. So when I moved into this particular house, everything was fine for a few days, and then I started getting really sick. And so I asked them, I was like, have you guys ever had mold, like pets, like what's going on? And come to find out, the room that I was in had mold, it had flooded, and they had gutted the whole thing, thought they got all the mold out, and apparently it had started growing back. So they refunded my money, and I found another place to live really quick. It was very easy. Another reason why I really like Craigslist over some of our other options is, again, it's just a little cheaper. When I was out in Midland, Odessa, rent for a single room was about $1,500 to $1,800 a month, and I was paying $600 to $800 a month. I don't remember exactly now. I think it was $800. And it was fully furnished. The only thing I needed was a bed, and I always used a blow-up mattress. Some other really good options are Airbnb and VRBO. Those are great. I would recommend these 3 for sure, and those are the ones that I do recommend a lot. You know, and these are good, especially if you're taking a shorter contract. You can just and then you're done. You know, weekly versus your weekly income versus expenses. That's something that I definitely recommend everybody keeping into account. We all want to go to the coast. We want to go to California. We want to go to Florida, wherever. But definitely keep in mind that just because you can make $1,700, $1,800 or more in California doesn't mean that it's a better deal to be in California than it is in the Midwest if you're trying to make money. Where your rent could be $1,500, $1,600 or $100 or $2,000 a month versus being in the Midwest where it could be $500 or $800 or $1,000 a month, and it could be a lot, like a really big difference. So keep that in mind with your expenses. I'm not really going to write anything on that. Another thing, I'm going to go back up here to the taxable rate. This is something else that I want to kind of elaborate on. So when we have a pay package for you guys, and this goes back to moving that taxable and some other things, a lot of people ask, why aren't my stipends maxed out? And this is why. So let's say we're on contract and we're making $1,400 a week. And I'm not saying this is high, I'm not saying this is low, it's just an easy number. And we're making $14 an hour taxable, and it's 40 hours a week. So $14 an hour times 40 is $560 in taxable. And then, so that would be $840 per week in stipends. And we all know we can divide this down into meals and incidentals and housing. But we have to start with your guys' taxable and then figure out your meals and incidentals, because we know this has to stay the same unless we max out your meals and incidentals, and then we add it back into the taxable rate, and that's the only way that your taxable rate can go up. Because if not, then it goes back to us wage recharacterization, and we're going to get in trouble. So then your meals and incidentals and your housing goes into this. I really hope this helps you guys out. Again, my name's Sam Mercer with Junxion Med Staffing. Please let us know if we can help you in any way, shape, or form. Tom is also one of our new recruiters. He was a traveling surgical tech first assist, I think, for about 2 years also.
Hi, guys.
And, anything you guys have, throw it our way, and we'll try to answer it for you. If we don't know, we will definitely reach out to somebody that does. Also, travel tax is a great resource for these acceptable tax rates and some of this other stuff. I hope you guys have a great week, and let us know what you guys think, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.